There's a biblical fact checker on the internet by the name of Dr. Dan McClellan, who's a scholar of the Bible. Let's take a look at his review of my Bart Ehrman reel.
All right, let's see it.
Dan, you are aware of Bart's work. Do you think it's designed to bring people to Christ or to lead them away?
So 2 problems here. First, this is a laughable false dichotomy. Neither is the point. The point is to share information about the academic study of the Bible that most people in the public would normally not be able to access. Second problem is you didn't say lead people away from Christ. You said his goal was to destroy Christianity. So you're equivocating here just to try to come up with something that sounds the least bit defensible.
Let's just read one of many of Bart's quotes about the divinity of Jesus, which is a foundational belief in Christianity. Within 300 years, Jesus went from being a Jewish apocalyptic prophet to being a God himself, a member of the Trinity. Early Christianity is nothing if not remarkable.
This is just a historical fact. You just don't like it because it conflicts with your dogmatism, so you frame it as destroying Christianity.
Please keep in mind, you announce yourself as a biblical scholar, and I'm so astounded that you would misrepresent post-mill eschatology so badly. I recommend that you read Before Jerusalem Fell by Dr. Kenneth Gentry and Victory in Jesus by Dr. Greg Bonson.
Nah, I'm good.
All I did was mention postmillennialism because I know Bart is aware of it. You're the one that conflated the second coming of Jesus with the judgment of Jerusalem in 70 AD. Who said the second coming of Christ was to happen within a generation, Dan?
Mark 13, Matthew 24, and Luke 21. And we can see in the earliest references to these passages in things like the Diatessaron and the Apocalypse of Peter that the earliest generation of Christians interpreted these explicitly as a reference to the final judgment, the second coming of Jesus, and the end of the world.
You see, you're actually confusing the second coming in Matthew 25, which happens after the millennial reign, with the coming of the clouds of heaven in Matthew 24, which is surprising.
So here you are just asserting the reinterpretation that you prefer, which is precisely what Bart pointed out Christians are compelled to do in order to make sense of this passage, and it is precisely what I said you were going to do. Yesterday you commented on my video saying you made quite a few eschatological errors here. It will be fun to fact check the fact checker. I responded, I think it's far more likely you're just going to assert the reinterpretation that you prefer rather than actually identify any errors I made, but I'm happy to be wrong. Now, you did not identify any errors that I made. You simply asserted your preferred interpretation, and you go to great lengths to assert, well, this passage means this passage means that, this other passage means the other thing, and when you combine them together, they all mean this other thing. Now, you never engage the consensus reading of this passage. You never even acknowledge it. You certainly never engage the data that are marshaled by the academic consensus to demonstrate that the earliest generations of Christians understood these passages to refer to one and the same second coming, final judgment, end of the world. Because you're not here to relitigate the consensus view, nor am I. You are here to perform for your audience. Your audience wants to feel validated in their dogmatism, and so you are going to help them feel validated by asserting as confidently as you can the reinterpretation that makes the best sense of this passage, and sidestepping as confidently as you can the actual academic consensus. And so, because this is just a performance on your part and you're not engaging in good faith, I am not going to go into the weeds to respond to every point you make about the interpretation of this passage. I'm just going to invite anyone who would like to understand the academic consensus to go check it out in any critical commentary. I think Hermenea is the best. I think Anchor Bible does a wonderful job. So if you want to see what most scholars think about these passages, you can go check it out in a critical commentary. No, Bart's position is the academic consensus that the Gospel of Mark was written right around 70 CE.
In Rethinking the Dates of the New Testament by Jonathan Benier, the middle majority of the date of Mark is 65 to 73 AD, with an early date of 45 AD. Nonetheless, 70 AD seems to be a bit of a convenient figure and somewhat arbitrary, Dan.
Well, that's just Harnack's position that is representative of the majority. It's not precisely what the majority position is, and also, no, it's not arbitrary at all.
You know what seems somewhat arbitrary? How you appeal to the academic consensus on this particular issue, but you throw out the academic consensus when it comes to homosexuality in the Bible.
I don't throw out the academic consensus regarding homosexuality in the Bible in any way, shape, or form whatsoever.
You love to pick and choose when to use the academic consensus. And when Christians want to talk about the Bible and the work of Jesus Christ, about simple issues that the academic consensus agrees upon, you enjoy tearing them down.
No, I overwhelmingly represent precisely the academic consensus on my channel. And if I challenge it, it is only on topics on which I have actually myself published within mainstream academic venues.
How about this? Stop fact-checking people like me, and why don't you go after some real big fish like N.T. Wright or Dr. James White, and then we can see your academic acumen in full flight.
Thank you for doing precisely what I said I thought you would do, but I will continue to confront misinformation on social media wherever I see fit. To my knowledge, N.T. Wright is not spreading misinformation on social media, and James White blocked me years ago. But I will note that I find it amusing when and where apologists decide they need to try to gin up some kind of academic legitimacy. N.T. Wright has a DPhil and a Doctor of Divinity from the University of Oxford, but he's not the one you referred to as doctor. You decided to apply the doctor title to James White, who has a fake PhD from an unaccredited online diploma mill. But that's the person you decided you needed to honor with the title doctor, and I just find that amusing.